This podcast will be primarily for those 40 and over. So anybody under the age of 40, you don't know what we're talking about, you don't even have to listen, so shut it off right now. So for those 40 and over listening to this podcast, we're going to be talking about one of the most underrated entertainers of his generation, probably one of the best cover artists the world ever created. And for me, probably one of the most energetic and charismatic singers, if you can call him that the 1960s and 70s ever produced. Today we're going to be talking about the impresario and the great musician, Herbert Boutros Carrari, better known as the incomparable Tiny Tim. Born April 12, 1932 in Manhattan, also known as Herbert Buckingham Carrari, K-H-A-U-R-Y, was an American singer, ukulele player, and musical archivist. He is best remembered for his cover Tiptoe Through the Tulips and Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight, which he sang in a falsetto voice. Now, born in Manhattan, his mother Tilly Niestaff was a Polish-Jewish garment worker, was the daughter of a rabbi. She had immigrated from Brest-Litovsk, present-day Belarus, as a teen in 1914. Now, Tiny Tim's father, Boutros Carrari, was a textile worker from Beirut, present-day Lebanon, whose father was a Maronite Catholic priest. Now, Carrari, K-H-A-U-R-Y, that's how we pronounce it in Canada, Carrari, displayed musical talent at a very young age. At the age of 5, his father gave him a vintage wind-up gramophone and a 78 RPM record of Beautiful Ohio by Henry Burr. He would sit for hours listening to the record. At the age of 6, he began teaching himself guitar. By his preteen years, he developed a passion for records, specifically those from the 1900s through the 1930s. He began spending most of his free time at the New York Public Library, reading about the history of the phonograph industry and its first recording artists. He researched sheet music, often making photographic copies to take home to learn, a hobby he continued for his entire life. He eventually attended George Washington High School in Washington Heights, Manhattan. Now, Carrari was a devout Catholic Christian. Now, by the time he was 11, he began learning to play the violin and enjoyed performing at home for his parents' entertainment. He later picked up the mandolin and the ukulele, the later of which became his signature instrument. During his recovery from having his appendix removed in 1945, he read the Bible and listened to music on the radio. And after his recovery, he rarely left his room except to go to school, where he was described as a mediocre student. He dropped out of high school after continuously repeating his sophomore year, taking a series of menial jobs. Now, in a 1968 interview on The Tonight Show, he described Discovery's ability to sing in an upper register. I was listening to the radio and singing along, and I was singing. I said, gee, it's strange, I can go up high as well. In a 1969 interview, he said he was listening to Rudy Valley, of all people, singing a falsetto, and had something of a revelation. I never knew that I had another top register, describing it as almost a religious experience. By the early 1950s, he had a landed job as a messenger at the New York office of MGM, where he became more fascinated with the entertainment industry. He then entered a local talent show and sang the standard You Are My Sunshine in his newly discovered falsetto. He started performing at Dance Club Amateur Nights under different names, including Texarkana Tex, Judas K. Foxglove, Vernon Castle, and Emmett Swink. To stand up for the crowd of performers, he wore wild clothing, and after seeing an old poster of a long-haired Rudolph Valentino, grew his own hair out to shoulder length and wore pasty white facial makeup, probably one of the first hippies of his generation. His mother did not understand Herbert's charge change in appearance and was intending to take her son, now in his 20s, to see a psychiatrist at Bellevue Hospital until his father stepped in. At 59, he dropped all other stage names and performed as Larry Love, the Singing Canary, at Hubert's Museum and Live Flea Circus in New York City's Times Square. While performing there, he signed with a manager who sent him on auditions throughout the Greenwich Village section of New York, where he performed unpaid amateur gigs, playing the ukulele and singing his falsetto voice, the song which became his signature, Tiptoe to the Tulips. Now, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, his version, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, la-da-da. Like, I can't do his falsetto, but it was perfect. And it was very genuine. So Roger Ebert, the film critic, once said, I first saw Tiny Tim early in his career in Greenwich Village in the winter of 62-63. There was a convention of college newspaper editors, and a few of us, I remember Jeff Greenfield coming along, went to the Black Pussycat and found ourselves being entertained by a man the likes of whom we've not seen before. He was already locally popular. In 63, he landed his first paying gig at Page 3, a gay and lesbian club in Greenwich Village, playing 6 hours a night and 6 nights a week for $96 per month. For the next 2 years, he reported as Derry Dover, and after that, Sir Timothy Timms. After being booked to follow a midget act, his manager George King billed a 6'1" Corari using the iconic stage name Tiny Tim, which later became his signature name. Now, Tiny Tim appeared in Jack Smith's Lorna Love, as well as the independent feature film You Are What You Eat, in which he sang the Ronette song Be My Baby in his falsetto range. He also featured a rendition of Sonny and Cher's I Got You Babe, with Tim singing the Cher parts in his falsetto voice, along with Elder Burashad singing Sonny Bono's baritone part. These tracks were recorded with musicians who later joined the band. The I Got You Babe performance led to a booking on a Rowan Martin's Laugh-In, a popular American television comedy variety show. Co-host Dan Rowan announced that Laugh-In believed in showcasing new talent, and so Tiny Tim was introduced. The singer entered carrying a shopping bag, pulling his Martin soprano ukulele from it, and sang a medley of A Tasket, and a good chip, lollipop, as an apparently genuinely dumbfounded co-host Dick Martin watched. For his third number on Laugh-In, Tiny Tim entered Blowing Kisses, preceded by an elaborate procession of the cast, and after a short interview, he sang Tiptoe to the Tulips. Now, in 68, his first album, God Bless Tiny Tim, was released, which would contain an orchestrated version of a Tiptoe to the Tulips, which became a hit after being released as a single. For All My Little Friends 69 was a collection of children's songs, and he was awarded a Grammy Award nomination. Now, on October 7, 69, it came out that Tiny Tim was a big hockey fan. He had an opportunity to take the ice with his favorite Toronto Maple Leafs pro sports team before a charity event at the hockey shrine Maple Leaf Gardens. Wearing the skates and jersey of future Hall of Famer Pat Quinn, and helped by team members Mike Walton and Jim McKinney, he made an attempt to skate for the very first time. He was quoted as saying, "What a thrill, just being on the ice was great." Reacting well to his evidence of inability to skate on his own, he said, "I was always athletic spiritually, not physically." Now, Tiny Tim was married 3 times and had 1 daughter for his first marriage to the then 17-year-old Victoria Budinger, also known as Miss Vicky, at the age of 37. Tiny Tim married Miss Vicky in The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, on December 17, 69, with 40 million people watching. In 71, Budinger gave birth to their daughter, Tulip Victoria. Tiny Tim and Victoria Budinger divorced 3 years later, and Budinger subsequently had several marriages. Now, Tiny Tim married Jane Alweiss, Miss Jan, in 84, and Susan Marie Gardner, Miss Sue, in 95. Gardner was a 39-year-old Harvard graduate and a fan of Tim's since she was 12. Now, when Tiny Tim first became well known to American public, many people erroneously believed that he was British or even gay. Many pundits and journalists debated whether the character being president was just an orchestrated act or a real thing. It quickly became clear that he was genuine. However, and that could probably be best described as a lonely outcast intoxicated by fame, and a romantic always in pursuit of his ideal dream. After his career peaked in the late 60s, Tiny Tim's television appearances dwindled and his popularity began to wane. He continued to play concerts, making several lucrative appearances in Las Vegas. In August 1970, he performed what had always been in England to an estimated 600,000 people at the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970. The UK press announced that he had stolen the show without a single electronic instrument. When his recording contract ended with Reprise, he founded his own record label and humorously named it Vic Tim Records, as a pun on a combination of his wife's name and that of his own. He performed with the American alternate rock band Camper Van Beethoven in 86, and also did numerous covers during his career, especially the classic version of Highway to Hell by AC/DC has to be heard to believe. Now, he also was a big movie star. He played the lead role in the 87 horror film Blood Harvest, acting the role of Mervo. In the 90s, he released several other albums, including Rock, I Love Me, and Girl. Now, Tiny Tim, a biography by Harry Stein, was published in 76 by Playboy Press. Corari also appeared at WWE on July 1993 in a skit with Jerry Lawler on King's Court. Now, he played the ukulele in a very unique fashion. He played it left-handed, though he retained his standard string placement, and played the guitar right-handed. The instruments he played include a vintage Martin, a Fivila, and a Johnson metal resonator. Now, Tiny was a huge fan of Arthur Godfrey and taught himself to play using a method book that came with the Godfrey-endorsed McAfee Allender plastic ukulele. Now, his passing is one of the most tragic moments in entertainment history. We're not going to dwell on it too much because it is a YouTube video that, again, I give you great caution. If you are looking up, if it bothers you, please do not view it, because I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. On September 28, 96, he suffered a heart attack just as he began singing at a ukulele festival at the Montague Grand Hall in Montague, Massachusetts. Now, this hall is often confused in accounts of the incident with a nearby Montague book mill, at which he had recorded a video interview earlier that same day. He was eventually hospitalized at a nearby Franklin County Medical Center in Greenfield for 3 weeks before being discharged with strong admonitions not to perform again because of his health, his weight, and his diabetes. He also had heart trouble. He ignored the advice. Now, on November 30th, 96, he was playing at a gala benefit hosted by the Women's Club in Minneapolis. He had left his third wife, Miss Sue, know before the show that he was not feeling well, but did not want to disappoint the fans. Before the start of his performance, most of the audience had left. While performing his last number of the evening, he suffered on another heart attack on stage in the middle of a rendition of his hit, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. His wife asked him if he was feeling all right, and he said he was not. She was helping him back to the table when he collapsed, and he never regained consciousness. EMTs performed on-site CPR and transported him to Hennepin County Medical Center, where after repeated revival attempts, he was pronounced dead at 11:20 p.m. His remains are entombed in a mausoleum in Lakewood Cemetery in Minneapolis, and a large mural of Tiny Tim with tulip themes by famous Australian artist Martin Sharp is also in the Macquarie University Student Council in Sydney, Australia. Now, posthumous releases, quite a few actually. In 2000, the Rhino Handmade label released the posthumous Tiny Tim Live at the Royal Albert Hall. The recording had been made in '68 at the height of his fame, but Reprise Records never released it. The limited number CD sold out and was reissued on Rhino's regular label. In 2009, the Collector's Choice label released I've Never Seen a Straight Banana, Rare Moments Volume 1, produced and recorded by Richard Barone in '76. The album was a collection of rare recordings of some of Tiny Tim's favorite songs from 1878 through the 30s, along with some of his own compositions. Now, in 2009, it was reported that Justin Martell was preparing a biography of Tiny Tim. It was released in 2016 under the title The Eternal Troubadour, The Improbable Life of Tiny Tim. Martell is called one of America's foremost experts on Tiny Tim, and he contributed liner notes to I've Never Seen a Straight Banana and the 2011 Tiny Tim compilation MP, Tiny Tim Lost and Found, 63-74 Rare and Unreleased, which was inked on the Secret 7 Records. Now, in 2013, a biography of Tiny Tim was released in 2 editions. Tiny Tim Tiptoe Through a Lifetime, released on July 16, 2013, and is by Lowell Tarling, author, and Martin Sharp, illustrator. Shipped to Shore Photo Company followed up Lost and Found Volume 2 with a Volume 2 featuring Volume 1 with a Volume 2 featuring Tiny Tim's 74 live recording of Nobody Else Can Love Me Like My Old Tomato Can on a limited edition wax cylinder. In 2016, Shipped to Shore Phono Co. released Tiny Tim's America, a collection of demos recorded by Tim in '74 and finished in 2015, with overdubs overseen by producer Richard Barone and Tiny Tim's cousin, Eddie Rabin. The album was subtitled Rare Moments Volume 2 and was presented as a spiritual sequel to 2009's I've Never Seen a Straight Banana, Rare Moments Volume 1. In 2020, Swedish journalist and documentary filmmaker Johan von Sydow released the documentary film Tiny Tim, King for a Day. Now, Tiny Tim was eventually honored with a star in the outside mural of the Minneapolis nightclub First Avenue, recognizing performers that have played sold-out shows or have otherwise demonstrated a major contribution to the culture of the iconic venue. Receiving a star might be the most prestigious public honor an artist can receive in Minneapolis, according to the great journalist Steve Marsh. Now, discography is quite heavy. We're going to talk about some of the Tiny Tim songs, especially Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Now, the original version was published in 1929 And Tiny Tim again made a song a novel hit by singing it at a debut episode of the popular American television show Rowan and Martin. Now, it reached number 17 in the charts in the U.S. that year, becoming a signature song, which he would continue to perform throughout his career. Now, it's been featured in many, many shows over the years, not the Tiny Tim version, of course, but I don't know if for those who've never heard the song Tiptoe Through the Tulips, it's basically, an up, an uptick type of guy. Now, God bless Tiny Tim. Very interesting cover. If you see it, you'll never forget it. It was the first album released on the Reprise label, his first. Again, included Tiptoe Through the Tulips, a version of Got You Babe, and a collection of obscure songs. Many of the songs have humorous lyrics, are sung for humorous effect, or have an unexpected hook. It is widely praised but not released on CD until the late 1990s, and then only in Japan. It later was re-released on CD in 2013 with a number of bonus tracks that include alternate and instrumental versions of the album song as well as non-album B-sides or singles. Produced by Richard Perry, who had produced Captain Beefheart's first album Safe as Milk, and later produced albums by Barbra Streisand, Harry Nilsson, Rod Stewart, Carly Simon, and Ringo Starr. The arrangements are by Artie Butler. The songs were written by a variety of composers, most from the early 20th century and most rather obscure. However, I Got You Babe was by Sonny Bono, and Stay Down Here Where You Belong was by Irving Berlin. Now, for some of the album, Tim sings in his unusual falsetto style. However, in a number of songs, Stay Down Where You Belong, The Coming Home Party, and others, he sings in a rich baritone, demonstrating his voice's range. In On the Old Front Porch, Daddy Daddy What Is Heaven Like, and on I Got You Babe, he sings both the baritone and falsetto, alternating between the two, thus why I mentioned Highway to Hell. Now, a joke in I Got You Babe is revealed in the last words, where both baritone and falsetto voices unexpectedly sing at once, revealing the apparently agile duet is actually himself singing double-tracked. Now, it's called traditional pop, psychedelic rock, and what's considered outsider music. Now, 41 minutes 48 seconds, again, produced by Richard Perry. Now, cuts on the album, there's quite a few. Welcome to My Dream, with Jimmy Van Heusen as Johnny Burke as co-writers. Tiptoe Through the Tulips, Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight, On the Old Front Porch, The Viper, Stay Down Here Where You Belong, Then I'll Be Satisfied with Life, Strawberry Tea, The Other Side, and Ever Since You Told Me That You Love Me, I'm a Nut, very important song, Daddy Daddy What Is Heaven Like, The Coming Home Party, Fill Your Heart, I Got You Babe, and This Is All I Ask. So, professional ratings give it 4 stars out of 5, and let me tell you, it's quite the what do you call it, the presentation. If you can find it, I would suggest picking it up. Now, another key one was, of course, Tiny Tim live at Royal Albert Hall, which, that's the iconic location in the UK. It was recorded there in 1968, but not released until 2000 by Rhino. It's the only album by Tiny Tim to have an accompaniment of full-size orchestra from first overture to final applause. The album was recorded live to a 4-track, as these original 4-track master tapes were utilized to create this release. Due to the nature of being recorded live, a few recording mistakes are audible, such as Tiny Tim's vocal mic volume being set at an unsuitable level before being fixed by a recording engineer. Now, the album was originally issued as a CD through Rhino Handmade, limited to 3,500 copies, and included in this release was a reproduction of the original 28-page concert program given the audience members that night. But due to sales and popular demand, in 2019, the album was reissued by Rhino Groove as a limited edition red vinyl double LP, which I've seen go for several $100s. Now, track listing includes God Bless Tiny Tim Overture, Welcome to My Dreams, Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight, On the Old Front Porch, I Gave Her That, Save Your Sorrow, Love Is No Excuse, As Time Goes By, A Little Smile Will Go a Long Way, Long Way, I Got You Babe, Then I'll Be Satisfied for Life, Where Does Daddy Go When He Goes Out, and Hello, Hello, You Called It Madness, But I Called It Love, The Other Side, I love me and while I'm with myself. I wonder how I look while I'm asleep. I think that's what a lot of people look at. Frisco Flow, Medley, I'm glad I'm a boy, my hero. I hold your heart in mind. Earth Angel, Mr. Tim recalls he visited with Mr. Dylan. The Mainstein song, I'm just a vagabond lover, like a Rolling Stone, and my time is your time. Mr. Tim recalls he's visited with Rolling Stones. I can't get no satisfaction. If you can find that track, it's tremendous. Nowhere Man, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, and I'll See You Again. Again, one of the most important performances at the Royal Albert Hall. It clocks in at a very decent 73 minutes, so that's where the double LP comes in. So how good was Tiny Tim and how much was fake? Well, I saw Tiny Tim perform, and it was like a combination of a psychedelic and a children's performer with a little bit of like a foppish, not say Oscar Wilde style, but he wasn't gay, but he wasn't really, I don't know what you would call it. You know, he dressed very interestingly, good personality, and you know, he was, no offense, when the Ramones first broke in, my father said, he's kind of like Tiny Tim. Joey Ramone just gets to the music. It's like, I know it's a weird connection, but with no Tiny Tim, maybe Joey Ramone saw that Tim's presence on stage, he'd just go and play, and that was it. You know, would he be considered punk psychedelia? Probably. If you're a fan of Tiny Tim, let me know what you feel. For like, comment, subscribe. Now, for those under 40 listening to this podcast, you can come back now or check somebody else on another channel. You have to be a certain age. You want to get a person over the age of 60 to smile, mention Tiny Tim, and he'll start with a version of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. But his version of Highway to Hell, when that came out, that was just utterly tremendous. You know, and gave the song a new version, might say. So the legacy of Tiny Tim, Roland Martin's Laughing was tied in. As soon as Roland Martin got big, Tiny Tim got big, and Sock It To Me, from 68 to 71. But when psychedelia ended and the hippie movement ended about 73, you know, and but he kept true, and he is a pure musical archivist. I've heard amazing things about his memory, about key songs from the late 19th century, early 20th century. Thanks for listening. Bye.